Hi, welcome to the Pursuit of Truth. So, I've been watching today's news and they're all talking about war crimes. And it's good that, don't get me wrong, the war I don't mean it's good that it's war crimes, I mean it's good that they're talking about them. I just feel the level of hypocrisy and the fact that I suspect most of these journalists, most of these world leaders are not anti-war, like their rhetoric seems to be suggesting. They're talking like anti-war people, but if they were given the chance to have a war, and they were sold some lie like there's weapons that need to be taken out, or there's some terrorists that are harbouring another terrorist somewhere, they would be ready to report on and talk about the noble act of war and why it's necessary, and defending casualties, killings, and the same atrocities that we're seeing Russia commit, the same atrocities that, war crimes. I don't know if there's any war where there hasn't been war crimes. I mean, the war itself is a crime. It's a crime against humanity. And I get why the West is, because of pro-America and because it's against Russia. We've all been brainwashed into that, and that's why we've made a big emphasis on this Ukrainian thing. It is a little bit concerning to me that it looks like, is it because they're white or because they're European, that's why we care about them more, giving them, more attention, helping them out, giving them weapons, where we didn't do that in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Vietnam, and etc., South Africa, wherever you want to add. But just the fact of how many atrocities were committed in Iraq and Afghanistan, people being shot in the street, the same body bags, urinating on people, torture, all those types of things that they're talking about now happening, rape, obviously in Vietnam. So these things happened, and I'm sure the soldiers faced trial, but unfortunately, maybe in this case, Vladimir Putin, because he's Russian, because if he'd come from a Western country, there's no way he'd end up in The Hague or international, whatever their name for it is. But if he's from the Middle East, or if he's Chinese or Russian, he's definitely going to end up there. So there's not many Western leaders that have committed to been part of committing atrocities through their soldiers, having illegal wars and etc., like Iraq, Afghanistan, Vietnam, and etc. Proxy wars. Recently, they were talking about how America is getting influenced into getting rid of Imran Khan in Pakistan. Everyone thinks these things are, they don't happen, these proxy wars. They're still happening. It's happening with this Ukraine issue. It's just, you don't see it. It is a proxy war. It's us, West versus Russia. Same as with Vietnam. But the thing is, us, the people, we need to get out of these polemics, these either or, following, you're this side, you're that side, because these people are leading us astray with their politics, with their way of running the world. And I would like to see all war criminals, whether that's Vladimir Putin, whether that's Osama bin Laden, whether that's Tony Blair, whether that's George W. Bush, Colonel Gaddafi, whoever, if they've committed war crimes, or their people, they've sent their troops, and the problem is, if their troops have committed war crimes, how do you attribute it to the people up top? They may not have told them to go and do those things, but still, it was their army that did them. Do they bear some responsibility? But I would like George W. Bush and Tony Blair to be in front of The Hague, to be in prison for what they did in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I'm sure there's lots of Westerners that would like to see Vladimir Putin in prison for what he's done to Ukraine and Crimea. But we got to stop this hypocrisy, because it's just too much. And this, this like when they're asking about, could this be false flag, because Russia obviously are going to say that these bodies, they've been set up and etc. The very fact that, we've got to have some veritas. We've got to be able to get some truth, to know, wait a minute, just because someone sees something, just because someone says something, that doesn't necessarily mean it's true. I don't know, maybe only woke community understand that so much, is that just because someone tells you this is what's happened, that doesn't always mean that's what's happened. We've all seen many films, even in our real lives, situations where people will say this is what happened, and you turn out and find that's not the way that it actually happened, and they were lying. Because guess what? Human beings lie and deceive. The first casualty of war is truth. We all know that there is benefit for, say, Ukraine to make out that this is like World War II, this is like Nazi Germany, and etc. It's very messy, but the what comes down to it, is humanity, and humanity shouldn't be fighting with each other over bits of land, and we shouldn't be wasting our time, because that's what we're doing. We're wasting our time. We waste so much of our time with the way we live, with all the things we do, the unnecessary things, and this is just one of them. Fighting each other, and then there's no point, is it? Because this is where I always get stuck when I get to this point. Because there's nothing I can do, and there's nothing that's going to be done. We're going to just carry on acting like cavemen, all of us. Some cavemen will have white hats, some will have black hats. Some will be like Vladimir Putin, some will be like Joe Biden. We'll have the same characters, the same stories, the same situations over and over again. Take care, easy, God bless, and peace.